Hi there, welcome back to the #1 South African school news portal. Do you know the final Matric exam deadline? Watch, listen and learn. Minister Angie Motshekga has announced that the countdown for the final Matric exam has officially started. More than 1.1 million candidates are expected to sit down to write the 2020 combined Matric exam. The minister also announced that the Department of Basic Education will be making all of its services available under Lockdown Level 1. This comes as the department is preparing for the combined final exam. COVID-19 has created the need to restructure the final Matric exams. As a result, June exams were postponed and will be written together with the end-of-year exams. This means that more than 1 million candidates will sit to write the final exam. This is the highest number of candidates the department has had to deal with. The exams are scheduled to start on the 5th of November and Thursday the 5th of November and end on Tuesday the 15th of December. The late start of the exams will give the department enough time to plan and manage the exams for all of those scheduled to write them. See Minister Angie Motshekga's speech.
Acknowledge my colleague, Dr. Mhaule, and also our head of exam, Dr. Polio, and all members of the media. Good morning and thank you very much for making the time to be with us. As you will recall, it's almost been 4 months since our schools reopened after a forced closure in March because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And it has been and we are encouraged that there's been a very significant decline in the COVID-19 cases in the country, and the same trend has been experienced in our schools. As a sector, we are proceeding well under very difficult conditions, and we want to commend the work that has been done or continues to be done by our dedicated teachers and staff to ensure that the system returns to some semblance of normalcy. Currently, we hardly see any schools being closed and reopened as we did before, and this can be attributed to the adherence of the revised standard operating procedures, but also the national decline in COVID-19 cases. We are also encouraged and humbled by what we see in our schools. Schools continue to implement the rotational system by either implementing a staggered days of attendance or platooning, which has really made it difficult for us to run our schools. This schools do in order to adhere to the safety requirements, because safety remains our top priority, because the virus is still very much with us. We therefore continue to take care everywhere else and more so in our schools. We are, however, concerned also that there's still a number of learners that have not returned yet to schools, and we can't account for them. And we have requested our schools to follow up on one, because one is one too many. So we have been monitoring closely our return to school, monitoring registers. We have varied attendance and different reasons that parents give us that kids are still in rural areas since the lockdown. We're not sure if they're attending school there. Others, we're not sure if they are, especially in your affluent schools, on your ICT platforms, and that's why they're not returning. But we'd like to have all of them back. I've been visiting schools, and schools report an attendance rate of between 80 and 90%. Which means there is a good element of learners that is not returned to schools in other grades. So we're really encouraging parents. The last visit I did in schools at DM was Tuesday in Tembisa, and they were telling me that learners were coming gradually. But we really want to appeal to parents to bring them back, because the risks are very high. It means that indeed, we have to work with our parents and communities to support our children and bring them back to school. The fact that schools are not operating normally at the moment also creates lots of delinquency amongst our learners. So the rotation or platooning approach which schools are using means that there are designated days when learners are not at school and other designated days that they are at school. And that might really allow them, as I said, it does create space for delinquency. This again increases the risk of them losing interest and forget critical curriculum topics already covered at school. And the difficulties that we're experiencing timetabling will be with us for the remainder of the year as we continue to balance teaching and learning while saving lives. So one of the programs that we also are stepping up on them to keep children engaged is the Read to Lead campaign. Households should organize reading activities at home and within the communities. We'll also be embarking, especially now in October, on the reading campaign to once again promote reading, but this means an essential activity that could help us save our children under COVID-19 circumstances in which we find ourselves. On learner support interventions, Matric learners have been in school since the first week of June, and if you recall, they only took a break in July. And all provinces have put in place a whole range of measures to support our learners. This includes Saturday and Sunday classes. The extra tuition opportunity has been of great benefit to the learners and the teachers. At this point, I need to actually pay a special tribute to our teachers who have sacrificed their time to support learners. Our DG has been visiting provinces and tells me almost every Saturday and Sunday in different schools there are learning programs. And different schools have even extended their timetables. Schools break at 4 in some instances. So there's just lots of work that has been put in place to support our learners. So we are really grateful for the commitment, dedication, and sacrifice demonstrated by teachers in every province. In addition, extra classes provided at our schools, and the department, in collaboration with the National Education Collaboration Trust, the NECT, has an initiative which they call Woza Matric, where they really put additional support to the class of 2020 as they prepare for the exam. And we also thank all the partners involved because it's a program which is supported by the private sector, academics, NGOs, but also by our provinces to make sure that our learners get all the necessary support. In May this year, we had an agreement with the Education Labour Council under lockdown 3 and 4, where teachers with comorbidities were granted concession to stay home. So when the president on the 16th announced that we are going to level 1 from the 21st of September, it meant effectively that the collective agreement that we had with the teachers would then expire. And provinces have reported that all teachers have gone back to work, except those that who are not well, who are sick, who are on sick leave, or any other leave that is there, like maternity leave. We thank each and every one of our teachers for heeding the call to return to school. Health and safety measures remain in place, and everybody is expected to comply as we work to finish the work for the 2020 academic, which we had already trimmed down during the year. On extracurricular activities, because there are lots of queries that are coming through, with the country having moved to alert level 1, we are proposing that non-contact sport training and physical activities in schools should resume, subject to compliance with measures to prevent and combat the spread of COVID-19. We will be gazetting new directions in this regard quite soon. We're still consulting, but we will do it quite soon so that schools know exactly which activities are allowed, which ones are not allowed. But in the meantime, we're encouraging them to really allow non-contact sports and training in schools as we finalize the gazette. On school nutrition, that was one area where we had huge challenges because before level 1, we were forced to feed even when learners were not at school. But unfortunately, during that stage, we had very few learners turned up to come and eat at school during the different lockdown levels. Initially, the numbers coming to schools for meals was very low, but we have now seen a drastic improvement now that all learners are allowed to come to school. And this has really assisted our beneficiaries a lot, and the reopening of schools in particular has helped to ensure that more learners receive their much needed meals. On bullying and violence amongst learners, I think the public will be aware that we'll be getting all disturbing postings around violence amongst learners, learner to learner, and I must say even girls now involved in very violent activities. So we have observed several incidents of violence amongst learners. It is quite disturbing to note an escalation of violence contact amongst our learners. All of us must remember and practice the stipulated health, but more important is to really make sure that we deal with all the challenges that confront us and the community in a very peaceful manner. So we are reviving our school safety management structures, including the quality learning and teaching campaign. We're working with school governing bodies to immediately deal with bullying and violence amongst learners. And I can assure the public that in all the postings that have been there around violence amongst learners, different provinces have been dealing with those cases. On the ECD function, which was one of the major areas which were disrupted by the migration, by COVID-19, the Department of Basic Education and Social Development have been planning towards the realization of the change in leadership and responsibility for the provision of ECD programs. To this end, the two departments have concurrence on the scope of the function that will be transferring. We are working together on developing a detailed implementation plan to ensure that the transition is seamless and that the integrated ECD ecosystem in our country serves and protects our children so that they can thrive later in life. And the details of this plan will be communicated once proper engagements with the different stakeholders have been engaged. On reading, we are all aware that many days of schooling have been lost this year, especially in the early grades, and this could lead to long-term learning losses and increase in the inequality in learning outcomes even further. This situation makes it more urgent than before to provide more support to teachers and teaching reading. All teachers know that catching up lost lessons is not an easy plan, and therefore we require especially families and communities, to assist us to make sure that we can really close the gap that the COVID-19 has created for us. And this will include a concerted effort by both parents and teachers, and will need extended, and it will extend to 2021 academic year. And it will allow this, we have revised the annual teaching plans to extend the next year. Over the past couple of years, the DB has initiated several efforts to improve reading knowledge, teaching and classroom practice, drawing from amongst the research conducted through DBE, early grade reading studies and early grade reading assessments. Some of the recent work emerging from this has been development and the release of National Framework for Teaching of Reading in African Languages in the foundation phase. This framework aims to guide and improve teacher practice in reading African languages and any other languages. And you will, again, on World Teachers Day this month, as I said earlier, COVID-19 pandemic has taught us a lot of things. The sacrifices by our teachers has been seen, and we appreciate it. We always say that the basic education system stands and falls on its teachers. Without teachers, we will not have effective teaching and learning. COVID-19 pandemic has forced us to reconsider the way in which we have been running the sector. It is for this reason that we have come up also with a theme for World Teachers Day that says, Teachers Leading in Crisis, Reimagining the Future. For the month of October, as we continue teacher appreciation activities, the theme is Working Solidarity with Teachers During COVID-19 Pandemic. So we are fully aware that some teachers have lost their lives to COVID-19, and once again we send our condolences to all the affected families. So today we also launched the Teachers Month, and indeed on Monday the 5th of October we will hold a special celebration where we will also pay tribute to the fallen classroom heroes and heroines. The Teacher Appreciation and Support Program is a broad is a broad project which was launched in 2015. Many of us who have gone through the hands of teachers know too well the lifelong impact teachers have on our lives. The role of teachers is also not limited only to teaching content, but teachers facilitate the acquisition of a range of skills that individual learners will need to be successful citizens and contributors to the socio-economic sphere of adults. Again, as the department, we have received many inquiries about the revised school calendar for 2021. First, let me confirm that schools will reopen on the 25th of January 2020. And second, that the school calendar will be gazetted tomorrow. So we'll gazette the calendar tomorrow so that everybody who needs to plan can be able to plan around this. So it will be gazetted tomorrow, Friday the 2nd of October, after which it will be publicly available. We are fully aware that the country needs the school calendar for effective planning purposes, and we have worked hard to ensure that it is done properly, taking into account the disruptions that have occurred in 2020, and will need to carry over some of the curriculum work into 2021. And we have done our best to accommodate the interests of everybody, but our priority has been the learner. On matric examinations, ladies and gentlemen, the advent of COVID-19 has necessitated the need for us to reschedule the 2020 National Senior Certificates to accommodate the disruptions caused by the pandemic. As we had already announced before, the June Senior Certificate examination was postponed and will now be written together with the National Senior Certificate now in December. The exam in November. The examination timetable for the combined June and November examinations had to be announced so that this examination commences in November instead of October, as initially planned. The late start of the examination is intended to allow us some time to cover critical curriculum content and to ensure that all examination processes are properly managed. So the combined examination makes this the largest public examination that we've ever administered as a country. We have in excess of 1 million candidates who will sit for the examination, and we certainly have never had to manage such a big number before. But indeed, our exam section is putting everything in place to make sure that it remains credible and it becomes safe and efficient as we always do. So the writing of the 2020 National Senior Certificate exam will start on the 5th of November 2020 and will conclude on the 15th of December 2020, which means we'll only announce the results in 2021. That's not so. We'll announce the results in 2021. All exam centers, both public and independent, have been audited in preparation for the 2020 combined exams. Protocols to ensure compliance with COVID-19 have been put in place and they have been distributed to all chief invigilators and all officials involved in exams. All provincial education departments have secured extra spaces to make sure that indeed we comply. So today we launch officially the countdown to the exam. It is now 34 days before the start of the National Senior Certificate. So on Monday the 5th, it will be exactly a month before our grade 12 sit for exams. So as we launch this countdown, we want to appeal to parents, to guardians and committees to rally behind all the candidates who will be writing their final exams this year. It is an extraordinary time for them and for all of us, but our learners and our children need all the support that we can give them. In conclusion, Chair, it has been a very difficult year, but there's still an opportunity to get tangible work done. We'll need to work together with all stakeholders, strengthening our partnerships, intensifying our efforts, and to rescue the country from a possible disaster brought on us by COVID-19 pandemic. So since the country migrated to level 1, our own Department of Basic Education has all its programs now 100% fully functional. So we're providing all the services that are within our scope of work. We observe strict health and safety protocols. We want to continue to ensure that everybody is safe. We also wish to thank all South Africans for the support that we have received as a department. As individuals, we can indeed travel faster, but together we can travel far And again, want to thank everybody who's come to our rescue, including your non-governmental organizations, your private sector, including different professionals and academics who've been rallying behind us to ensure that we get as much as we can from the 2020 year. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go straight to the questions now. We have some media organizations in the room here, and we also have the WhatsApp line as well as the telephone line. I'm going to start with the telephone line. If we have any questions there, please indicate to me.
Thanks, Chairperson. We don't have callers at the moment.
Great stuff. Thank you so much. And on the WhatsApp line, Ignatius?
Thank you, Chair. No questions at the moment.
Okay, great stuff. Anyone in the room with a question? Okay, all right, that's fine. If we don't have any questions, we are done. I'm not sure if Minister would like Dr. Pule to, or the Deputy Minister. Okay, great stuff. If we don't have any questions, then we are happy. Great stuff. Thank you so much. The statement is there. It's available. We'll be able to share it with you right away. And if there are any other questions, then we'll be able to deal with those as we usually do. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
All right, a relatively quick briefing there by the Minister of Basic Education. It has been 4 months since schools reopened after the forced closure in March, and it's 1 month since all grades have been back in school. The Minister saying that the sector is proceeding well under difficult conditions. He also said that they are hardly seeing any schools being closed and reopened, and this can be attributed to the adherence of the revised standard operating procedures. But there's concern with regards to learners who have not returned to school as yet. And in the schools that they have visited, the return rate is between 80 and 90%. So there's an appeal to parents to release their children to return to schools. Now, provinces are also reporting that all teachers have gone back to work except those teachers who are on maternity or sick leave. With regards to extracurricular activities, now the Minister was saying that they would like to propose that non-contact sport training and physical activities in schools should resume, subject to compliance with measures to prevent and combat the spread of COVID-19. Also, she did mention with regards to the revised school calendar will be gazetted tomorrow, after which it will be publicly available. Schools will reopen on the 25th of January 2021. The writing of the 2020 NSC examinations will commence on the 5th of November and 15th of December 2020. So that, in a nutshell, is what the briefing was all about. We'll have much more in our later bulletins as well. In other news, a member of the ANC Provincial Executive Committee and his stepson are expected to appear in the Nelspruit Regional Court in Mpumalanga to apply for bail on charges of rape. It is alleged that the two suspects raped two 8-year-old girls. It is reported that one of the victims reported that the matter to a school teacher in July. The two were arrested on Monday after months of investigation. They were remanded in custody on Monday. Meanwhile, the ANC has provisionally suspended